Hey guys, this is Jagpanther, and welcome back to What of Tanks. Woo! And welcome to the very nice, or probably welcome back to the very nice garage that is Fury. It's possibly one of my favourite event garages so far, as it reflects what I really would like to see from a tank garage, which is basically not even a garage. It's outside, on the front, about to move out, just getting a few supplies here and there, waiting for the supply column to arrive. Having some planes like that flying overhead, you know, it's just awesome. Definitely love it, and hopefully I can find something a little less film related, but hell, I'll go for this if I need to. But anyway, today's video is going to be all about the Ferdinand. Yes, this tier 8 tank destroyer from Germany is the tank that we'll be having a review with. And of course, for those who are wondering, no, I do not have the Jagpanther 2, but do not worry, I am working towards it, and certainly once I get access to the Jagpanther 2 and fully upgrade it, which shouldn't be a problem as I have elited the Ferdi, and as you can see by my holding the Jagdtiger, the only thing I have to upgrade is this. So definitely want to do a review on that, definitely want to see what this other thing's capable of, and definitely will at some point make a comparison video between the two. But right now, it's all about the Ferdi. The Ferdinand. Now, I don't want my personal opinion to sort of potentially ruin this tank for you, but I'm going to summarize a couple of things without going too much into the review. That I enjoyed this tank very much. I definitely think it's a very good tank, and it's very much worth you going up this if you are going up this line for this vehicle. It's going to give you a good service. I will warn you though, it's a bitch to grind. Unfortunately, because you're going into tier 8 now, you're going to be hitting some tier 10 matches, which unfortunately means that before you get this gun, you're going to be working with the L52, the L71. It's going to be a bitch. And what makes this worse is other issues such as maneuverability and armor, and I really hated the grind. But when you get it, it's very good for you. But there are some things which I think maybe the other tank I possibly would prefer, but I don't want to spoil it too much. I hate to have said something like that. So, for hit points, you have 1200. Now that's pretty good for a tier 8 tank destroyer. You've certainly gained a lot more since your tier 7 counterpart. And also now, since you're going to be going up against two very mighty tank destroyers that are at tier 10. The Jägeru, or Jagdpanzer E100, or the mighty FB1215. 183. I can never remember that first part of the name. Or what is more commonly known as the Death Star. Both of these tanks have the capacity to do over 1,000 in damage, and especially for the Death Star, have a higher potential chance to one-shot you. Now that may not sound very inspiring, but consider the fact that everything below them doesn't have that much power, which means you'll be able to take a few shots from a tier 10 tank. Let's see how your counterparts fare. Let's start off with Les Français, which has... Oh, that's not Les Français, that's China. The French have their AC-48, have 1,000 hit points. So, once again, the French don't have too much to offer for the battlefield for hit points. Your counterpart, the Jagdpanther 2, has 1,150 hit points. So, you're better than it by 50. Not much, but something. Unfortunately, those blasted old British have once again got themselves a tank destroyer with more health than you, which is this AT-15. And not only do they have more hit points than you, by 250 to be precise, they also have the potential to be a big threat on the battlefield, as their weak points aren't so easily shootable, unlike the other three-tiered tank destroyers beforehand. So they may present themselves a bigger threat in the battlefield than usual. They're still slow though. Going over to America, speaking of slow, the T-28 prototype tank with a non-upgradable turret has 1,150 hit points. So, yeah, not very good for that one. Still 50 points better. And the T-28 as well, same deal, 1,150 hit points, just not open-topped. Now, going to the Soviet Union, you have two tanks, one being the most famous of tier 8 tank destroyers, and the other possibly being the least famous, perhaps, I don't know. The ISU-152, with its nasty big gun, only has 1,010 hit points, so not much at all. Kind of a good throwback considering the BL-10. so that's not a worry for you. And the SU-101 is going to win the prize for the most embarrassing amount of hit points, as it only has 990. It's worse than France. Good God. So, yeah, not very good at all. But for you, however, it's absolutely fantastic news, because it means every other tank destroyer, barring the AT-15, is worse off for hit points than you, which is good, considering the matchmaking you'll be going up against. And it will certainly mean that you can be a little bit more, perhaps a little bit more relaxed in the earlier stages if you are in a strong position. Now, onto weight and horsepower. You're a heavy girl, weighing at 67.45 tons with 3 equipment modules attached, and you have a maximum tonnage limit of 68.95. This, in combination with your not very good 840 horsepower top engine, it gives you a very okay-ish 30 kilometers per hour speed. And unfortunately, the acceleration, if it does have it here, does it have it here? No. It doesn't really, no, it's not very fast vehicle at all. No, it's not. I mean, for what makes it worse as well is that it has a 21 traverse speed. This, in my opinion, I would say this is a bit of a large flaw for me, because I very much prefer tank destroyers which don't have turrets to have a better traverse, at least of 25. 25 or 26 degrees is something I can work with, whereas with 21, noticeably, you're going to have to calculate what's going to be happening in advance. It means it requires you to have a lot more foresight as to what you will be in a position depending on where you're going, and also where you can go at the beginning of a match. You know, sometimes you might just have to concede the fact that you're not going to reach that objective, and unfortunately during the grind, those two engines are very, very poor, as you can see by the 670. This is a beautiful vehicle. This is beautiful in comparison to those two. So yes, I apologize in advance for that terrible grind, but yeah, unfortunately, maneuverability-wise, she's not very good at all. Now, onto armor. Yeah, stats-wise, the armor wouldn't look too bad, and especially from someone who doesn't really drive the who wouldn't drive the 30, it certainly seems like a pretty okay tier 8 tank for armor, but it's really not. In fact, ironically, this would possibly be one of those occasions that, despite having the 200mm of armor, you'd actually need more or a better design in order to fully use that effectively. And this is kind of also where perhaps my style of gameplay is different from that of others, because I've heard tales about how people can use this thing to the full maximum effectiveness, and Bob's your uncle, you find yourself getting loads of damage in this thing. I've had on occasions things bounce on the front of me, but it's not been easy. Yes, you have 200mm of armor to the front, 80 to the sides, 80 to the rear, and if you haven't noticed anything of anything lately, at least you'll notice that this vehicle is really, really flat. Very much flat. In fact, flat enough that if a KV-2 decides to pop around the corner whilst you're whilst you're completely oblivious to him, he could perhaps hit you and screw you over for most of your health. So, definitely be aware of that. You are very much artillery bait on this vehicle. It's very big, and especially if you're top tier and you've been spotted, this thing's beautiful artillery bait, especially since you've got very bad speed. So be very much aware of that. Now, how bad is it for armor-wise? Well, let's go on to Tank Inspector to find out. So here we are in Tank Inspector. Here is the Ferdinand, and here are the Ferdinand's armor values. Now, as you can see, this vehicle is very much frontally focused. Everything after the front is very lightly armored with very little to no angling. So hopefully this shouldn't be too long whilst I explain what best to do with how this vehicle can work. As usual, what we'll do is we'll go from the highest armor value to the lowest armor value and try and discuss tactics along the way. So the highest amount of armor value hull-wise is the gun mantlet, or the armor around the gun mantlet, I should say more professionally. This covered pretty much like 90% wise by the mantlet itself. Offers the best protection armor-wise for the crew, because it's so. I think because of the well, the very limited angling, you're going to be only receiving about maybe an extra 8 or perhaps 10, no, maybe even 9 millimeters extra protection. But it's the likelihood of you being shot here is incredibly low, and even if they do shoot, they'd have to have a tier 10 premium tank, a tier 10 tank shell to go through, or a premium shell anyway. So not really likely to be shot there. Because, well, this millimeters amount of armor, the 200 millimeters of frontal armor that you have, that's been shown stat-wise as well, is, well, going to be probably that much more appealing target. Obviously, if you're in a higher tier game, if you're in a low tier game and you're higher tier, then obviously there is a higher chances of people not being able to pen, for surely their guns won't get through. But tier 7 and possibly some tier 7 tank destroyers and a couple of tier 7 tanks will certainly be just about enough. The Tiger shell, a Tiger's gun, the L71 will just about have enough penetration to go through you frontally. But it probably has to be very close. But still, they can penetrate and they will be able to do damage. And obviously, you go into your own matchmaking, tier 8, tier 9, and unfortunately tier 10. You will be in the shit. Unfortunately, many tanks will be able to penetrate you if they spot you, and there will be nothing really you can do about it in the open. Definitely not a good thing. And what's worse is if you try and angle, the 80 millimeters of armor, which is supposedly meant to be at your sides, also counteract you by going onto these points as well. So your armor value actually decreases a hell of a lot more if you try and angle, which is a bit of a sad story. You also have, unfortunately, an underglacial issue, which ironically has much better angling than the rest of the whole tank, which is the only issue. The only tactic I could really suggest to utilize in combat is side scraping, as obviously give it enough angle, and if you can find a way of hiding the massive frontal gun area here, you can side scrape with this vehicle very effectively. But obviously be aware of the fact that you're not very maneuverable, so in town combat may not have enough time to pull out of your cover and take a shot when someone else is going through. Plus, also there may be someone else with him. So that kind of tactics I don't really recommend for this vehicle. Second line duty, working with your teammates and being the nasty punch on the side is the best thing I could do when it comes to armor. Going down the list for armor, let's see where this is. Somehow you have 65 millimeters of armor. I can't seem to quite find it, so it's possibly at some kind of really random point. So that's impossible. The 30 millimeters of armor here, well, that's the top of you, so there only will be 30 millimeters of armor that the artillery will have to go through, so basically it will go through. And finally, 25 millimeters of armor in these lovely little port bits, showing themselves to be a true weakness. So, and they also can be 3 times, which is not very good at all. So armor-wise, the Ferdinand, whilst stat-wise you'd think the 200 millimeters is alright, it's not. And unfortunately, the tank doesn't really work too well when it comes to angling. I mean, that said, you can possibly find the miracle point for angling your armor, maybe hulling down and perhaps trying to go from left to right. But unfortunately, there is a lot of flats, and if you're not too good at that, you will definitely struggle like I did. Anyway, let's get back to the tank, to the garage. Now, onto view range and signal range. You have 370 view range and 710 signal range with the help of the FUG-12. Not bad for each side. Certainly good for me, obviously. Certainly good for the role that you'll be needing them in. And, well, let's face it, FUG-12, lovely radio. Let's see how you fare and compare against your comrades. Well, I say comrades, your counterparts, I should keep saying. The AC-48 has 370 view range. Let's go into it, see what they can grab. But they can grab a tier 10 radio, which gives them 750 signal range. So they can see as well as you, but can report your position further back. Oh dear. Let's see how you fare in comparison to your Jagpanther 2 friend. They have access to the FUG-12, so it's the same radio, but slightly better view range, being 10 meters more, 380. Oh dear. They can see and report your position, about the same, but report the same position, but see further. The AT-15 gains access to a tier 10 radio, so 750 like the French, but they can also see the same distance as you. So, oh dear. well, better than you radio-wise, but unfortunately, well, luckily for you, same view range. Now, I'm not going to count the T28 prototype, as that is an open-topped vehicle, so automatically it's going to beat me. So how does the T28 appear? Well, the T28 once again gets a Tier 10 radio, which has 745 signal range, but the T28 has 370 view range. So we're on par with a fair amount of vehicles this day. Only the Jagpanther 2 so far has better view range. Now, the ISU 152 gets a Tier 9 radio, being at 625. So not as good as you, or many others. But their view range is the same, being at 370. So, once again, their radios are crap, but they are on par with you. Let's see how you fare in comparison. I selected the wrong thing. Let's go back to the tech tree. So, the last vehicle, the SU-101, they gain access to a Tier 10 radio, being 730. How's their view range? 380. So they may have been mocked quite severely for their very nasty looking hit points, but they certainly punched you one back by having a very good radio and a very good view range. So your tank being... So the Ferdinand, while she is on top a fair amount with other vehicles in regards to view range, you are unfortunately lagging now behind other tanks in regards to signal range. Oh dear. Yes, well, it's to be expected. Unfortunately, you don't really receive any further upgrades to your radio. Hell, even the Jagdtiger, I think, doesn't have the best. I think even the Jagdtiger doesn't have the top radio, the Tier 10 radio, so it's not really surprising that, you know, that happens. But still, you can still see the same distance, so as long as you're within viewing distance, you should be able to radio your position in to your opponent, to your allies about the opponents. It's just they may be able to see you and radio in slightly further away. Now, onto my favourite part of any review, the gun. And this tank certainly has got a good one. In fact, I think I earned my first mark of excellence, as you can see here, on this tank. So it just goes to show how nice this thing is. Yeah, this is the L55 Pack 44 128mm Cannonair. Basically, this is the E75's gun. She has 5 rounds a minute, which basically would amount to 10 seconds per shot, 246 pen, 490 damage, 0.35 accuracy, and a 2.3 second aiming time. This thing is amazing, especially with vents and rammer. You can opt for a ventilation. You can opt for enhanced gun laying drive, but looking back on it, considering the reload, I might have equipped something else, but what's been the past is in the past. But really, what I would like to talk to you guys more about, because really there's nothing else to say about this gun apart from it's what makes this grind awesome, and you'll no doubt see in a couple of replays or live games, depending on whether I can get them, since I haven't played this thing since 9.2, just how effective this thing can be. The real thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was grinding up this gun, because I at first came to this tank with the belief that the L71 was the true king of all tank destroyer guns, and at Tier 8 I thought, well, you know, it worked in the Tiger 2, it certainly can work for me here. But then as I started to make my grind, and as I slowly got to the top, I realized that the L52 actually makes a little bit more sense than the L71. Now, stat-wise, the L71 does have an advantage in the sense of rate of fire, penetration, and accuracy, whereas the L52 actually sounds a bit weird, but it actually kind of works better, as it has a although it doesn't have as good a rate of fire, it hasn't got the same penetration, it does have much better damage, not too different accuracy, and a much better 1.7 second aiming time. And admittedly, in the ranges that you'll probably most likely be ending up gauging most targets, you'll mainly be aiming for weak points anyway, even with this gun. So my recommendations whilst driving the Ferdinand, when you can, because I don't think you can instantly get the L52, unless you spend lots of money on grousers or you unlock the tracks from the original tracks, definitely get the L52 up, because while at points you may be thinking, oh my god, this gun's terrible, it is actually quite good in the sense of raw alpha damage, and also aiming time and accuracy. Certainly, it helped me out near the end before I grabbed this gun. But I will say, the L55, once you've got it, is just gorgeous. I will happily say that right now. Now, onto crew skills and equipment. This is basically where I talk to you guys about what is the most important thing to put on your tank and what kind of skills you'll need to make your crew epic. Now, first of all, for equipment, obviously vents and rammer, no exceptions, though the third option is as always up to you. But this time, I would actually say that what I chose originally for this thing would probably not be the most important thing to go for. Admittedly, when I got this thing with the enhanced gun laying drive, I think I got it when I was just in love with the thing and I just kept using it. But now, instead of that, I probably would opt for putting a binocular telescope more than I would an enhanced gun laying drive. Quite simply because whilst being able to shoot and aim down the sights is nice, a little faster, the binocular telescope allows you to see further and is also a non-complex equipment, which quite simply means you can take it off and use it on another tank anytime, making it a much more worthwhile investment for your vehicle. A heavy spore liner, if you're frightened of artillery, wouldn't be a bad idea, considering that you are a very big vehicle, and in certain games, a Ferdinand is possibly a very much feared tank. Though I've been artied. Unfortunately, artillery is just going to be one of those things. With big, slow vehicles, artillery is going to be your foe. So certainly, a spore liner wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, then again, an enhanced gun laying drive is certainly not a bad idea. Certainly not a bad enough idea that it's pointless. But considering your reload and your crew training and all that, I think it's more than. I think you can safely not use the enhanced gun laying drive. And instead perhaps utilize something else. Definitely for that one. But as for the equipment, I think binos number 1, spore liner number 2, and enhanced gun laying drive number 3 as my recommendation priority wise. Now on to skills. Now obviously this is not the 100% crew that I had on my Ferdinand originally. They're on the Jagpanther. But what I would recommend for your crew is as such: the commander, Sixth Sense. You know the drill now by now. You go to your skill, repairs or camo or something like that, get it to 100%, and then train up another simple skill till 40%, then you can drop it safely without taking any penalties and grab the Sixth Sense almost instantly. The gunner, obviously you don't really need snapshot for this one, so instead perhaps choose armourer, as the gun will take a fair amount of damage. That or repairs if you want to get modules fixed very quickly. Once you've done that, you can then switch it to getting the Deadeye. For your driver, most importantly, you will need clutch braking. Because this thing has such a bad traverse, you will undeniably need the extra degrees to help you get out of a sticky situation. After which, you'll probably want to get off-road driving. This is quite a simple thing which allows you to reduces the ground resistance whilst driving on soft and moderately soft terrain. So pretty much this kind of terrain, most grassy kind of terrain, is what will give you the best kind of maneuverability with that skill. Radio ops, you probably would want to, instead of having that, probably go for something like relaying, which will basically allow you to extend your signal boosting, that's the one I meant to say. Signal boosting, which basically extends your signal range, thus giving you a potential advantage, or you could go for situational awareness, either or. Now you've actually got 2 loaders this time, so you can actually take advantage of something. First of all, you get this loader to get a skill and train up to 100%, drop it, and then put in Adrenaline Rush. This will basically prompt your guy to, when you're less than 10% of your hit points, so basically if you have less than 120%, if I'm not mistaken there, you will be able to utilize your reloads a little bit faster, which may save you from getting killed. Now, once you've done that, train on another skill. This is where your second loader comes in, because whilst you're doing that, you can do the same routine, only you might be able to get something like Intuition, or you can get something like Safe Stowage as a skill. or brothers in arms or whatever, but generally brothers in arms only works when the rest of your crew has that as well. So mainly either swap it out for intuition or save stowage. This basic intuition allows you to instantly switch between shell types or save stowage, which basically increases the ammo rack durability. So that's enough talking for a while. Let's get into the action with some games. So here we are for the first replay, and unfortunately the only replay of the 30 of a relatively decent match that I had. So we will go into a live one for the next one. Anyway, we are on Malinovka. No, that's the wrong name. Komarin, there we go, like I said. This is the improved Komarin as well. I am platooned up with Nimbus in his Ferdinand, of which he is currently grinding, so I'm currently with him on that one. As you can see, the acceleration of the Ferdinand is not really good. Like, they had the, unfortunately, the acceleration never really gets you to the 30 kilometers per hour that you've always wanted, so maneuverability-wise, 25 is probably going to be the optimum, maybe 21, 23, 24, like, that's kind of the optimum that you have. Still, anyway, so in this game, our team has spread out rather a fair amount of people going into the center. Both Nimbus and I are trying to sort of take a bit of a defensive arc in the bottom right corner. Some would say, oh, you're camping, but, you know, this thing is a tank destroyer. It's actually doing its job by this point. So, because of the lack of people going into the center, we kind of figured the enemy tanks would sort of ruffle stomp nearby, which pretty much did. Made a bit of a mistake and moved the tank, not really adjusting very well for that. Trying to get a shot in on someone. Fire a shot, do a nice low damage roll, but not too bad. Artillery gets in a good shot. I'm taking my time, hoping to get a shot into the IS-6, but unfortunately not too good. Just about not getting it there. Tunnel visioning a bit on that one. And then we look to our right to find that a KV-85 is appearing, and the A-44 that went down there is going to get himself shot very badly. Just trying to see if I can get into a position whilst trying to do something. Nimbus takes a shot at the KV-85. I'm trying to scan for a shot on him, trying to get into it. I luckily bounce a shell from the left. I'm tunnel visioning a bit too much here. Enemy at 110 moves up. Panther moves in. I shoot. It only tracks, which is frustrating. T-32 on our team is getting ruffle stomped a bit. He's taking a lot of fire. I opt to try and get in a shot for the T-32. I fire, do a nice roll, and Nimbus gets a good shot into him. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough to kill him, and unfortunately, the the 110 does finish off the tank. Then, unfortunately, our team is taking in the A-40. A-44 decides to have a bit of a rage at us because we're not instantly right next to him doing a job that we're not really meant to do. So we're currently trying to save this game. The gun depression on the L-55, not the greatest. I get a nice shot into him. T-25AT tries to throw a shot in. I'm sending a message to the A-44 saying that the targets of priority were on the right. 87 and Hellcat moving in. Nimbus tell him to fall back. Hellcat tries to have a go. Hits our upper armor, which luckily bounces. Nimbus tries to have a go, but unfortunately it misses. I take another ricochet from out of nowhere, probably the KV-85, trying to get a pot shot. I'm scanning the map as much as possible, trying to get a sort of idea as to what's going on. 87's going that way. I tell Nimbus, watch that position and make sure nothing goes wrong. I'll try and move about and try and see if I can get the IS-6. Evidently very much aware of the fact that artillery is a pain. I make a mistake and spend a bit too much time moving about, but unfortunately, downside of the 30 is it's not very good at reacting. Tiger 2 is now moving up and presenting itself to be a big threat now. The enemy is all bum rushing towards us. KV-85 moves in. I prioritize the Tiger 2. I hit and track. Nimbus focuses on the KV-85. I tell him to focus on him, as the Königstiger could potentially bounce some shots. He goes in and gets a nice shot in. T-25AT moves up. I try and save it. Not quite what I wanted to do. I tell him to focus on that, whilst I use whatever kind of maneuverability I've got to get him. Artillery gets the kill. This match is sort of looking like a disaster, desperately trying to hold this flank. I get a lucky shot into it. He shoots, doesn't pen. KV-85 tries to go for him, still tracked, trying to get a shot on him, keeping my eyes peeled. hand twitching as it goes. And we're just about saving it. Scumbag claims my comrade in arms. Tiger tries to go for it. I'm trying to side scrape slash do whatever I can. I throw a shot in. Pens and kills the tiger. And now it's the Hellcat. Artillery hits me and sets me on fire. Now I'm easy bait for anyone left. So, oh dear, definitely not good. I throw a random shot there. I'm very much at this point stressed, frustrated, and desperate. I didn't even notice the message had gone by then. So now I'm very much trying to sort of get around. The game is looking positive though. All we have to knock out is an enemy T-32, which is on very low health, and he has just been killed. Enemy IS-6 with most of its health still there. We unfortunately don't have any artillery, but we are capable of doing some damage at least to him. Hopefully we can move into position. I try and utilize a position without trying to move about a bit. At this point I was very much stressed and under the pressure because it's like, you know, taking a lot of damage now from that scumbag. But most of my team seem to be doing a good job moving on the IS-6 and the 110, so I decide to take a bit more of a defensive position. The enemy IS-6 knocks out our AT-15A, and the 110 is now joining up with him. I'm trying to get into a position where I can get on to help our team out. Trying my best to sort of stay further back in case someone tries to flank. IS-6 moves into position. Balsig decides to try and have a go at him, but misses. I take my time, fire a first shot. Unfortunately, that bounces, hoping to hit his lower under track, but unfortunately misses out. I'm panicking at this point because I think, oh, have I been spotted? But no, luckily I didn't. IS-6 moves into position. Balsig blocks the shot a bit, so I'm thinking, right, sod it, move slightly closer up. There he is. Nope, still haven't got quite a shot, need to move up even more. Balsig misses the shot against the IS-6. Su-122 is also trying to get a shot in as well, and gets killed by the 110, looking like a right pompous. By this point, I'm finally in a position to start getting some shots in, but unfortunately the Balsig is taking too much damage. I'm trying to desperately reload as fast as possible. Balsig gets killed by the IS-6. Could have done a much better job in my opinion, the Balsig. Try and get into it, set the guy on light, bang, he is gone. And now it's just myself and the 110 and two scumbags. The 110 is on incredibly low health after our team of at least 4 tanks failed to take on... Yeah, at least 4 tanks tried to take on 2 of them. Balsig in particular failed because it just went up close near with no armor against a vehicle with very much angled armor, but very bad view range. I don't know why he went for it, but still, he went for it. I didn't see that there. Yes, tree movement to the front, but I hadn't noticed it. And this is when, unfortunately, I will admit, I'm at my weakest for tactics. Pressure is something I'm not very good at. I just... When the shit is on, I can handle it on some occasions, but it just, you know, it's something, and that kind of annoyed me. I'm like, no, I'm not a coward. If I fuck up, I will fuck up and make a mistake, but I'd rather not, you know, just hide and just get them to draw, because that's no different to losing, only I lose pride in that. So now I'm sort of being ever so cautious, ever so aware and cautious. 110 moves into position. I fire, insta-shot and kill. Move as much as possible. Artillery's trying to go for me. Move, 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 and... Fuck. 5 kills, 4,601 damage, but against 2 scumbags, of which the 110 reported my position. I was kind of doomed, really. I admit, this match I made a number of mistakes. First of all, I panicked a number of shots. I noticed, looking back on it now, I noticed, especially with that engagement, I could have taken more advantage of just focusing down there. But then also, you know, I didn't focus. I focused too much down there when I could have been focusing a bit too much of focusing about here. Moving up towards Borsig, I perhaps shouldn't have been so cautious. Perhaps if I had moved up a little sooner, I might have saved the Borsig, which could potentially have saved us the game. But then again, 4 people took on 2 tanks. One with incredibly low health, couldn't quite take out 2 tanks. The IS-6, the Borsig did a really stupid maneuver and made the game for the IS-6 so easy. You know, he had the top 150mm gun, but, you know, like I said, artillery is going to love you because of your lack of maneuverability. Perhaps if I was in a slightly faster vehicle, perhaps the situation might have been different. I might have died earlier because of that shell that hit me earlier. Who knows? But either way, I'd say that's the best game I ever lost, just because of how close it was. Fuck. Anyway, I'll take you to the results screen of that game. So there is the results of that game. I might have to move stuff about a bit to save the whole thing stopping. My editor likes to stop stuff for some reason, so I will try and keep this as quickly as possible. So yes, we were defeated, unfortunately. High Caliber, though, was our main match, but also I got an Ace Tanker badge. Now, beforehand, there was another Ace Tanker. I did gain Ace Tanker badges before this, so this wasn't my first, thank God. But I did get my first Mark of Excellence from that, so I feel I did it justice. I wish my team had as much sense as well. You know, looking at it completely objectively, I know I made a couple of mistakes. I know if I'd paid maybe if I paid a bit more attention to the left, perhaps things could have been different. Who knows? But either way, we unfortunately lost that one. Going on to the team score. I did as I said, did the most damage and also got the most experience, even though the opposing team had very high results. Their highest result was the IS-6, who had a monster game. He did pretty well in his thing. I got more than 400 more than he did. No, just about 300 more than, yeah, over 300 more than he did. And I was on the losing team. But as you can see, my friend and I, Ferdinand, did the same, roughly the same, but the amount of damage. The rest of my team just sucked quite badly. But yeah, so that was pretty rough. I will be honest, was quite pissed off with that. But then again, I think considering the rewards we had afterwards, I think we did our best and we did as much as we could. And we're back for the second game. Unfortunately, because I couldn't quite find any decent replay games that would work on my computer, we're going to have to go with a live game. So, my apologies, I will say I did have a couple of other good games. In fact, I had my first Ace Tanker badge replayed up and everything, but unfortunately I couldn't quite get the blasted thing to work on my replays thing, so sadly that is not available, which is annoying, but anyhow, let us get on with this one. So, we are on El Haluf in an encounter game at a tier 9 stand-up. I am a badly tiered, not very well tiered at the moment. Ooh, Jagpanther's moving into position. Can I be cheeky? I am a tall tank, but he is also a quick character. But as you can see, oh, made a bit of a mistake here. I shouldn't have stopped. But as you can see, the maneuverability of the Ferdinand is, I mean, admittedly, I think because my crew were from the Jagpanther, it was actually better. It was a little better in mobility than this one. So, like I said, this thing isn't bad by any means, but some maps, it really is at a disadvantage because you're having to constantly troll about trying to find the right location for the job, and you're like, oh, I'm nearly there, and then you end up taking forever getting to the objective. So it is, and it is and can be immensely frustrating to deal with opponents. And then also you've got the really bad armor. In my opinion, I find that this tank probably doesn't fit my playstyle. I mean, I'm good in it, I've lasted in it, I've won games in it, and I've gotten Ace Mastery badges, so it's not like it's not that I don't know how to play it, but I don't think it fits my style very well. And it certainly is not a reassuring thought to think that you're good at something, even when you're good at it, it still is difficult for you to utilize it. Can I get a cheeky shot? Oh, I can, and I did. Okay. Fate is kind and gave me a shot. Though the Tiger 2 is wanting revenge, I can smell it. Tiger 2s give off a nasty, nasty oily smell when they're pissed off. That's when you know when they're going to do something. When they come out in the open and start shooting for random reasons, that's when they've fermented and they're like, ah, like that. I should have paid attention rather than talking. Bugger off, you premium prick. I'm a freaking... right. Move. Gold spamming whore. Sorry, it's an instant reaction I have when it comes to gold. Anything that's gold, even when I go to a bank, it's like, son of a bitch! You know, it's like, it's it's terrible. Probably not doing the right thing. 1-12 gets himself killed. Foch is in position trying to do something about it. Though the match at the moment isn't looking too good. I'm moving up to try and do something about that Conqueror. If Conqueror moves up, or IS-3, not really in the most advantageous position. We're all waiting for them to do something. Conqueror moves up, might move up. He is moving up, or is he not? He is potentially moving up. Myself and the Foch are withdrawing. And the enemy team is starting to cap the objective. But I fear they don't really quite do it. T-25 is not really in the best position as Conqueror is stopped. Fired a shot, done some damage. Conqueror moves up again. Going to angle a bit. Not that it will actually do anything. He fires against the Foch. I have a shot. I no longer have a shot. The IS-3 is in position. E-50 is hopefully going to hold off against that T-54 gold spamming whorebag. Conqueror moves up again. I hit, penetrate, and do some nice damage. Foch is moving into position as well. We're kind of doing a good job. T-26E4 with a T-54 and IS-3 are pushing up. I'm going to probably have to try and hold off against them. Foch is, well, credibility to him. He is trying to hold. If one of these guys could make a mistake, the fatal mistake, which will cost them their lives, I will try and move up to help him. Ah, verdammt. T-54 spamming gold as he normally does. Ow. Got him. Right, okay, so now that's one guy, one less tank to worry about. Made a mistake, went too close. Forgot I had flat armor. IS-3, he moves up. Conqueror, come on. Got him. Right, IS-3. Ah, fuck, we got targets to our rear. Right, Foch, is he going to go for us, or is he going to look around? I think he might look around. T-44 is taken care of. IS-3 is fine. I'm going to try and do something rather stupid. Nope. Nope, it's not going to work. The IS-3 we're engaging, I think he's lagged out. But the lack of maneuverability on this thing means that my tank just can't quite... Got him! Right, okay, so... Got him, but now my tank is suffering, and this is when I really need the maneuverability. Maneuverability here is what saves games. And I hate tanks that don't have it. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but it's because of how I play. Tiger 2 moving up, he's going to go for me first. Come on, make that mistake, make that mistake, make that mistake, and fire! Tracked, you son of a bitch. Right, Tiger 2 fired, he's made a mistake, he's fixed his tracks. Gold spamming whorebag is still at relatively high speed. Ah, you've got to be kidding me. IS-3's coming around the rear. I'm going to try and go around aim. Will I have enough? Don't think I do. Foch spamming his gold like always. There's the IS-3. Fired. He missed. T-54 is going to kill me because I won't have enough time to go around. And the IS-3 will kill me anyway. If I angle, at least, it might just save me, but it doesn't. I'm dead. And, yeah, unfortunately, that is our game. But that said, I did pretty well. We got 3 kills. Made a mistake with the 30, I think. But that said, we also made the IS-3 take cover. Our team is in a pretty strong position. We're capturing at the moment. The T-54 spamming gold like a whore. But his mate isn't so good with health. The IS-3 is a one-shot for other tanks, so as long as they respect that. Jagpanther, gold spammer. I'm sorry. I mean, I could understand gold spamming for some vehicles, but not for a tank versus tier 8 tanks. I'm sorry. If you're a tier above them and you're thinking, oh, I have to use gold, you're a bad player. I'm sorry. You are a bad player. Come on. I'm just going to have to try and... Okay, so it's just the gold spammer now. And he I think he must have run out of ammo, because he's going to waste. He's literally wasted so much ammunition on this one pack of tanks. He's going to get a kill, and because you don't have fire extinguisher, you die. Type 59, what are you doing? You wait for your ally to die, then you move. Yeah, Type 59, Wazzock. Absolute Wazzock. And now T-54 is going to have an advantage because he has multiple hit points and nobody else does. So this game possibly could be a loss. Welcome to World of Tanks. Right, what can we do? Don't leave cap, you idiot. Okay, Type. If he can get around him, well done, IS-3. IS-3 has done his job immensely well. Just keep that guy busy. Keep him busy. Come on, Type. Don't fail me now. You Wazzock. Ram him. If that's the only thing you can do with your tank, by all means, waste the money ramming people, you idiot. But, oh well. Good God Almighty. Well, okay. It was a win. I'll take it. Smiley face. Did a fair amount of damage in that game. Unfortunately, the team weren't so great, but luckily we got the most experience and damage, I think. No, the Type 54... You know what? No, that guy doesn't deserve that. Why? He spammed gold so hard. Like, yeah, he got a lot of damage, and well done to him for that regard. But no, I don't think he did very well, because he just spammed gold. There's no skill in it at times. I mean, come on. Gold whore. Yes, people will use it, but he used it on tier 8 tanks. You're a tier 9 tank. Gold spammer. So, you get your loss. And yeah, you did got high caliber, but I think it was ill-deserved. We did pretty well, though. We did pretty well, getting 3,000 damage and 1,000 experience. So that's pretty good. Was it a ×2? I think it was a ×2. No, it was not. It was not a ×2. But we got 1,000 experience, 47,000 credits, which would have been converted to about 25,000 profit. So pretty good game. Pretty good game indeed. And hopefully it goes to show how this thing can be used in some regards, but of course, at the same time, it's not quite how I use my tanks. So, the 30. Summary time. While I will definitely reinforce the fact that there is nothing that wrong with this vehicle that would mean it's bad and you shouldn't use it, because there are more than enough examples of people out there utilizing a Ferdinand. And hell, the games that I've had in this thing have also shown me that this thing isn't a bad vehicle, but it's just perhaps not the style that I personally find to be most utilizing. Like, for example, that last game we had where we were at the clinching moments and I really needed that maneuverability, and I didn't have it. I found that to be the most frustrating bit about that game. So I don't know whether I'll be keeping this vehicle, but for anyone out there who likes a strong, reliable, you know, it's a good vehicle. It's certainly good for those who enjoy the defensive play, perhaps. Not for camping, mind. This thing is meant for advancing. It's a good tank, and yes, the armor, medium to long ranges, will do you a treat. And if you could find the perfect angle that allows you to bounce most stuff off, brilliant, because I can't. So yeah, I don't know whether I'll keep this, because it still doesn't fit my playstyle, but then again, I might do, who knows. But anyhow, that'll be for another time. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this review. If you like this kind of content, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you yourself are a YouTuber, a World of Tanks player, or a World of Tanks player who does YouTube, if there's anything I could do to make this review and perhaps future reviews even better than before, then feel free to put in the comment section down below. All I ask is that there should be no trolling like, oh, you shit, and don't give any kind of constructive reason as to why I may not be so particularly good. And if you have found the capabilities of making the Ferdinand an even more impressive tank destroyer than before, by all means, put it in the comment section down below. Tell me of your rage-inducing, heart-breaking disasters, or tell me of your most glorious triumphs over evil and Bolshevism and all the other stuff which your tank had to go up against in order to look that awesome. Anything like that at all. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you next time. This is Crap Hunter, signing out.